message of some sort that she didn't particularly want to hear. She recognized the handwriting, so she knew exactly who had sent it. She let her fingers run over it and felt the linen paper that Mary Linton College used for its stationery. It reminded her suddenly of the school offices of the college, the place where you went if you had a query about your parents' visits, or if you were being picked up for a trip out of the school grounds. The tables in the waiting area had thick blotters on them, and small wooden letter stands with headed notepaper and envelopes. The paper was light blue and felt luxurious. The envelopes were thin and long and opened at the top of one end. They had to be stuck down by licking the gum. The stationery was like the boarding school, old-fashioned and expensive. Rose realized that the girl talking to Joshua was standing closer to him. There was no gap at all between them. She looked like she was going to kiss him. It would only take a second for her to go on tiptoes and angle her face up to his. Or he would just lower his head and place his lips on hers. Rose held her breath. The traffic had stopped, and although people were walking past, they were a blur to her, so fixed was she on the two people across the road. She felt her heart twist. Were they going to kiss? They did not. Seconds later, the girl backed away and walked off, and Rose felt a swooning sense of relief. Her eyes followed the girl as she wove in and out through other pedestrians and finally disappeared. Across the road, the door to Joshua and Skeggsy's flat was closing. She moved her shoulders about, loosening her clenched muscles. Rose, Rose, she thought, what's the matter with you? Joshua opened the door and smiled at her. Right on time, he said. She walked in and felt the heat of the flat. In front of her was a steep staircase, and she followed Joshua up until she came to a tiny landing. The smell of food was in the air. Skegsy appeared. He had a bibbed apron on over his shirt, tie, and trousers. His black-rimmed glasses made him look like a scientist, but he was an art student, though nothing like any artist that she'd ever pictured. His face was red, and in one hand he had an asthma inhaler, and in the other a spatula. He didn't say hello or call her by her name, he simply said, "Food's ready." As Rose and Joshua walked past him, he sucked on the inhaler. "Don't mix those up, Skeggs," Joshua said. Skegsy managed to smile. Rose caught Joshua's eye. Skegsy enjoying a joke was not something she'd seen often. They ate hungrily. No one mentioned the notebooks. It was the first time in weeks that it hadn't been the main topic of conversation between them. The narrow kitchen was hot, and Rose took her jumper off, draping it over the back of her chair. The butterfly tattoo on her forearm stood out, and she focused on it for a moment. It had completely healed now, and looked as though it had always been there. A blue morpho butterfly. A reminder of her mother, who she hadn't seen for 5 years. Skegsy was talking about the animation course he was doing at college, and how he had plans to make a short film. Joshua was nodding and picking at his chicken with his fingers. He had his sleeves rolled up, and his shirt was unbuttoned, showing a grey t-shirt. She stared at his chest. There, underneath the t-shirt, on the left side of his ribs, was his butterfly tattoo. The first time he'd shown it to her, she traced her fingers along it, feeling the outline of the image. She wondered if he sat in front of a mirror and looked at the delicate picture imprinted on his skin, larger and more dramatic than hers. She pictured him staring at it and thinking of his father, Brendan, who he hadn't seen for 5 years. Skegsy's voice interrupted her thoughts. "So, this guy in college is going to collaborate with me on the film," he said. Rose and Joshua immediately looked at each other. Skegsy had a friend, someone in college that he liked and trusted enough to